So I used to be the doctor on national television telling couples to schedule sex. I even wrote about it in my book, The Pink Canary. And I have learned so much since then. Not because scheduling sex was inherently wrong, but because it became one more way for high functioning women like us to be set up to fail. And it's sneaky. It's so sneaky we don't see it. We don't see it as like, oh, if we just put time on the calendar and show up, it's all going to be great. It's like the lie of if we just communicate better, if we just schedule time for intimacy. Mm, yeah, I used to believe that bullshit too. But that's what we're going to talk about today. That's what we're going to unpack. I am Dr. Jordan Wiggins, and welcome to the Pleasure Principles podcast. I'm an intimacy strategist for high functioning women, naturopathic doctor, author of The Pink Canary, and creator of the Pleasure and Power Path. I help women who are brilliant in their careers, but quietly burnt out in their relationships, in their bodies, and their sex lives. This is the podcast where we stop pretending things are fine and we start naming what's really going on. The unspoken resentment, the numbness, the invisible power dynamics that you don't even know are there, that make you feel like intimacy is just another task to manage. I am not here to sell you surface level empowerment. I'm here to help you unlearn the scripts, the power dynamics that are keeping you over functioning and disconnected, and teach you what it actually takes to feel turned on, emotionally safe, and erotically alive again. Each episode is rooted in clinical insight, lived experience, and the truth your body already knows. You were never the problem. You were just never taught the way to do intimacy for you and your body as a high achiever with super traits. So this is your invitation to stop performing, start receiving, and finally feel the kind of success that includes your pleasure and hopefully lots of orgasms. The lie of scheduled sex. And honestly, if I hadn't done enough work on myself, I would feel ashamed of this. I had actually published a book and have been on national television recommending couples schedule sex because there's research to support it. It sounds simple. Put it on the calendar. It will fix everything. But advice is dangerous when there are certain power dynamics at play. So you hear it all the time, therapists suggesting putting sex on the calendar is some sort of meaningful solution to sexless relationships. So why isn't it working? Okay, because what if we're not dealing with the underlying issues? So if this was two people, they have kids, they have careers, they're busy, and both they both intentionally want a weekly date night. They both intentionally want to take each other's clothes off, be in reverence of the other person, meet them where they're at, meet them open, see what happens. Maybe we're practicing a little seduction, but that is not the case. That is not what we are dealing with. So usually recommending scheduled sex, scheduled intimacy time, scheduled date nights generally creates more issues for the women that I work with. More unmet needs, more resentment because we are not dealing with the underlying issues, the super traits, the power dynamics, the lack of pleasure education and pleasure mastery. And just plainly put, my clients should be doing less, but she ends up doing more. Usually she's the one doing the scheduling. Okay, so here's the key difference. Scheduling intimacy works when both partners want it. I'm going to say that again. Scheduling intimacy, scheduling date nights, scheduling that time on the calendar works when both partners equally or like generally equally want and desire it. But if not, it becomes a power play, it becomes coercion, and it is a fucking setup when my client, the high achieving, over functioning, open, flexible, empathetic, accommodating person has to manage the labor and the workload and the scheduling of that intimacy time. Okay, so think about this. We were talking about this in the Pleasure Principles group coaching. Okay, and it can go two ways. So when we have the over functioning, high achieving superwoman client, and she has the low desire, and she has to do all the emotional labor, the scheduling. What do we do with the kids? I have to shave my legs, whatever it might be for this intimacy date. So we're putting more on her plate. We're actually widening that gap. We're widening that disconnection. And it can also go the other way where my client is the, like, again, the over functioning, high achieving person. And she's walked on the eggshells and she's thought about when to ask and how to ask and how much to ask for. And she's like, maybe demanded the connection time, asked politely, thrown it out like, hey, I heard this online, but only to be met with disappointment from her partner that doesn't want it the same as her. So, do you see it? It's a setup. It is inherently wrong unless both partners equally want this. They equally desire it. They've gotten like so busy, life's gotten in the way, and they both think, yeah, like I'm in. Let's do this. And it is a shared task, right? This is a pleasure centered relationship. And that might look like one partner takes care of coordinating for the children, the other partner makes the reservation. Okay. But usually the person that is the overfunctioner often ends up doing more. So scheduling sex creates a shared obligation, shared resentment, another box to check on a to do list that is never ending. So it's like it becomes one more thing to do, not shared desire. And I just want to say that mismatched libidos, different levels of desire, are common. That's what we're dealing with. The rarity is when both people want the same amount of sex. And literally on our group call, one of my clients said we hadn't had sex in like a year. And when we'd finally scheduled the time, it wasn't about connecting. It was a task. It was awkward. It felt forced. It started to feel like an obligation. Of course, like think about it. Think about the reality of it. So when I think about the bullshit that I used to tell people before I understood power dynamics, before I was certified in course of control, I see accounts online that I used to follow and that were actually damaging. Like their advice, their suggestions actually made it worse. They created more disconnection in the relationship. I needed to be in an abusive relationship, which is super common for high functioning women, and no one looks for it. I had to heal from it. I had to be gaslit by therapists. I followed Instagram accounts that only made it. And in getting to the point where I didn't know myself, where I was thinking I used to solve complex medical problems. People used to get on planes to come to my clinic and be treated by me. And I can't figure this out. I can't even coordinate the intimacy thing or scheduled time together. Mm. Because I didn't have an equal and willing participant, and there were power dynamics at play. And we can talk about burnout, we can talk about masculine and feminine energy, but there's a deeper truth underneath it all. And I'm going to show you. So my high functioning, people pleasing, brilliant, successful clients aren't sexless because they don't care. They're sexless because they have been endured, conditioned, tolerating, like be flexible, bend, bend, bend until you break, give, give, give instead of feel. And no one has taught us about power dynamics. My clients, okay, so just to break that down a little bit more, power dynamics are when, and they can be consensual and non consensual. And the issue in high functioning relationships is these are like contracts that we never signed and we don't know existed. And they're designed for one person system to have power over another. So, high achieving superwomen, we have super traits. We have tolerance, trust, empathy, openness, endurance, flexibility that lead us to try harder, even when things are hurting us, even when we don't feel emotionally safe. So, for my clients to let somebody else feel emotionally uncomfortable, to say no, to say, to stop emotionally caretaking, it's like it's not in our DNA. It's not who we are. And those same traits also afford us a ton of benefits in life and a ton of success. And in this case, scheduled intimacy just becomes like another unpaid job, another contract that we didn't know we signed. Or another, if you're the high drive partner, like another sore spot where you feel like you're begging your partner for intimacy. In this same conversation in the group coaching, my client said I felt like I was the one setting the rules, carving out the time, doing the work. And now she sees the pattern. She sees that once again, it was up to her to figure it all out. And he was like there waiting for the miracle while she was carrying the mental, the emotional, the physical load, which puts the brakes on her libido and her desire. And for her to be able to see that pattern of like, oh, that was me overgiving again. That was me doing more again. When really, when things are balanced, we have a desire, it's provided for, we receive. We relax, we open, we're penetrated. Yin and yang energy in its proper polarity. But that's not how it works in reality. So it's another scheduled obligation that is going to worsen connection and not foster it. So even for my clients, because a lot of my clients have the higher drive than their male partners who often can feel emasculated in their relationship with a woman with super traits. And again, it's putting her in that role of like overfunctioning mother, and he feels like a child or like he has to go to the principal's office for this scheduled intimacy time. So, what's actually missing? What is the actual problem? And we keep looking for a simple fix when this is emotionally and energetically complex, and trying to simplify it into scheduled intimacy time, we're doing everyone involved a disservice. Because a sexless marriage isn't about sex, it's about safety, intimacy, and our capacity to feel pleasure, to give and receive pleasure. And if you think about this, the real issue isn't frequency. Because I ask my clients this all the time, and we are quality over quantity girls in everything. So the issue isn't frequency, okay? It's the emotional labor, it's the unequal, mismatched desires, it's the resentments that's blocking arousal and connection, it's focusing on shit that's not the problem. Like you think it's the way you communicate, you think it's attachment style, you think it's like, okay, and why hasn't that fixed your problem? So to determine what the problem is, that's why I created the pleasure path assessment. Because you need a tool, you need a resource to actually tell you what's wrong so you can stop wasting your time on interventions like communication strategies and scheduled intimacy time when it's actually creating further disconnection. So when we realize where we are at on the pleasure path, how are our beliefs towards pleasure? Do we feel like we need to earn love? Do we feel like we need to sacrifice before we deserve to feel good? Are there power dynamics at play, even unintentionally? Like a gender role is a power dynamic, and that could be the inherent belief that it is the woman's job to do all of the emotional, physical, mental labor of the home. But also, a superwoman also earns the money and sometimes more money as the primary breadwinner outside of the home. And she's often retired her husband, or her husband works for her or with her. So we just have these sticky dynamics that aren't addressed. And he might feel emasculated and he might feel like withholding is a way for him to get his power back. But if we learn about power dynamics and we learn about these levers, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I don't like how this feels, and neither does your partner, and then you can adjust. And when we learn about our super traits and when they are effective, like in corporate, in career, in entrepreneurship, and when we learn how they are actually damaging in intimacy, that's when magic happens. That's when we shift towards a pleasure-centered relationship. The high achieving women that I work with need to know, generally speaking, we don't need more structure. We don't need more things added to our to-do list, like scheduled intimacy time. Unless your partner wants it the equal amount that you do, then go nuts. Otherwise, it creates disconnection. So we don't need more structure. We don't need more things for us to do because generally we need to do less. We need to stop performing, start feeling, start naming our desires, our truth. But oh, wait, you can't do that because you're in fight or flight, because your nervous system is dysregulated, because you literally have super traits that keep you on, that keep the dynamics off. And we are in a system and in relationship with people that generally really benefit from our